buildings were new and the streets were made of dirt, most of the homes were huddled close into the downtown area. This was an industrious farming community with a growing reputation in education. Jesse James and Jim Younger. Gustafson gets shot.
From the time it was platted by John and Ann North in 1855, Northfield grew steadily in size and stature as a regional center of commerce. By 1876, the first wooden frame buildings and stores that had huddled around Mill Square were replaced with much more substantial brick and sandstone structures. The original bridge that connected the west side of town with Mill Square was replaced with a graceful span of steel and timber. Northfield had become a picture of prosperity. In the early afternoon of September 7, 1876, this peaceful scene would be dramatically altered. The First National Bank of Northfield was about to be robbed by the most notorious band of outlaws the country had ever known, the infamous James Younger Gang. Led by Jesse and Frank James, the 8 outlaws were about to experience the most disastrous day of their lives. After just 7 minutes of terror and confusion, 4 men lay dead or dying, including Joseph Lee Haywood, the faithful bank cashier that refused to open the safe for the murderous band. In one brief show of armed resistance, the citizens of Northfield did what no one had been able to do, put an end to Jesse James' band of outlaws. In stark contrast to that violent day in 1876, this beautiful morning begins with the Kitty Parade, my favorite event of the defeat of Jesse James days. Begun in 1961, the parade has grown to involve hundreds of Northfield children and their parents. I'm Paul Krause, and every year for 20 years, I've enjoyed the way that the parade connects me to the families of my community. More than any other event of the weekend, the parade to me is primarily for and by Northfielders. After the parade, volunteers hand out prizes and treats to all the participants. Meanwhile, I'll head down to the river to take in the Arts and Crafts Fair sponsored by the Northfield Arts Guild. The annual Arts Fair is a chance to reacquaint myself with some of the artists and craftspeople who live in or near Northfield. Since many of these talented people come year after year, I enjoy seeing how their work is progressing and getting a chance to talk with them about their art. As I watch others make similar connections, I'm convinced that these face-to-face encounters strengthen and multiply the bonds of community. Here's David Allen, a Northfield artist who specializes in scenes of the town.
Focuses pretty much on Northfield and the surrounding area.
Right, yeah.
Why is that?
I've always said that, I could probably live to be 300 years old and I'll always find something in Northfield to paint because it's a pretty community and people take pride in it and they go to great lengths to keep it, looking nice and as quaint as you can. And so I think it's a very visually pleasing town. And I think it has, and I've lived a lot of places, but it has kind of a charm. Northfield does, and I talk to people who have lived here before and have moved in here. They always say the same. So there's just something kind of nice about it. And there's Mr. Wiggly making fun of me back there. How you doing, Mr. Wiggly?
Well, that's okay in this community.
That's okay in this community. I go through a lot of that.
Yeah.
It's all part of it, It's better than being ignored.
Back on Division Street, another reenactment of the 1876 bank raid is about to begin. This weekend, Northfield volunteers will perform no fewer than 6 reenactments. And not unlike the crowds that came to Northfield in the days following the original bank raid, hundreds of people are here to glimpse a time when a community of ordinary people showed extraordinary courage. Before the raiders enter town, Dr. Visti and his able assistant, Lily Hangtree, warm up the crowd with their patent medicine show.
$500. A lot of money back there.
Now this is one of my personal favorites. This is a set of postcards that do detach. And only in Northfield can you get post-mortem photographs on a postcard. Suitable for Christmas cards, weddings, anniversaries, or just drop-dead notices. It's got here...
The defeat of Jesse James Days is the largest all-volunteer celebration in the state of Minnesota, and that includes all the riders and the townspeople you will see here today. Our only goal is to authentically present to you, the spectator, the real feeling of what it was like to be here on the streets of Northfield as mayhem and murder reigned that day. Now to set the scene for what you're about to see, the city of Northfield in 1876 was just over 20 years old. The buildings were new and the streets were made of dirt. Most of the homes were huddled close into the downtown area. This was an industrious farming community with a growing reputation in education. Jesse James and Jim Younger. Gustafson gets shot.
Thank you. You're going to get me too?
Yeah.
What's your name?
Ali.
Lee?
Ali.
Ali.
Yeah.
Like Ali you?
Alibaba.
Alibaba. Okay.
Soft spot. Why do you think the raid and the defeat of Jesse James is such an interesting thing for people? What is it?
Even before Jesse died, he was a folk hero and sort of a Robin Hood. I know Jesse James to be a cold-blooded criminal murderer, but there was an aura around Jesse James, and it only gets bigger, which is interesting. Crowds only get bigger here, and people enjoy that part of Americana. And the connection so far removed from the West here in the Midwest in Northfield is special. So people come here, and also one of the things in Northfield is really not commercialized. If you think about our celebration, it's fun for the family, and if there's anybody really trying to get rich, this is a free show. And when I started, when I was 16 years old, we did one performance a year. Really? And now we do 6 in one weekend, and every one is packed solid. Even tomorrow when it rains, if it rains, hope it doesn't, but there'll be solid people in the rain to see this performance.
My passion is for many reasons, but probably the most is the truth of the story. You need add nothing. That these feared robbers and outlaws came to this town and killed people, and that through the bravery, the quick thinking, the resolute strength to not let their money be taken from them, these people of this small prairie town drove off probably the most feared outlaws of their time, and maybe the most feared gang in the history of this country.
While the reenactment of the bank raid is a reminder of how a united community can fend off a common enemy, the small, spontaneous performances along Division Street celebrate our individuality and our own unique contributions to the spirit of festival.
Well, we're right in front of the art store in downtown Northfield, and it's Jesse James Days, and we just figured we had to get out on the sidewalk and do our part to make some commotion. And that's what I'm doing here. And plus, I'm making probably almost enough for dinner.
You Ferris wheel, go. Gonna walk to the middle and go. You pass through and a touch 1/4. Scoot.
By the end of the day, I'm a little weary. On the square, there's plenty to see, do, and eat, and I doubt that many are thinking about Jesse James Cole Younger or the rest of the outlaw band that descended on this little town almost 125 years ago. Fewer still probably realize that Northfield might not have survived if the gang had been successful, if the heroic actions of a united community hadn't won the day. Well, to the victor go the spoils, and this evening that's a pronto pup or corn on a stick. For the Northfield Community Video Project, I'm Paul Krause.
One game for $2 or 3 games for $5?
I think we should go.